everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Vanessa and I'll be starting law school in August. I'm so excited. I'm going to be going to Washington University in St. Louis. I said St. Louis. St. Louis. St. Louis. I'm going to law school in St. Louis. And if you're not new here, welcome back to my channel.
Charlie, you're gonna for the
I am so excited for today's video. It's going to be about the things that I wish we talked about more. The things that we should have talked about more. You know, as a first generation law student, there are things that I wish I knew. There are things that I'm glad I knew. There are things that I still probably don't know. But there is way too much that has been gatekept through the application cycle. So today's video is my formal contribution to ending gatekeeping 2023. Before we get into today's video, I have two things that I want to share. First, thank you for over 1,000 views on my first ever YouTube video. Oh my God, I was beyond shocked and grateful. I'm so happy that people could resonate with the video and really enjoyed that content. I am so thankful for everyone who left a comment, for all of those who subscribed to the channel. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you might as well. I mean, it's free, it's fun, it's tea, honestly, I can't actually think of a reason why you couldn't, why you shouldn't. So just press that little button, okay? Join our law school community. And second thing, there were a few comments on the last video about the smoke detector, the beep beep. In all honesty, I cannot hear it. And in all honesty, it is not fixed. So you will hear it in this video. Hopefully by the next video it will be fixed. But please go easy on me in the comments, okay? Because a little beep beep never hurt nobody, all right? Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. The first thing that I want to talk about is the cost. People tell you all day, every day how expensive law school is. You're gonna take out so many loans, whatever. No one tells you that the application cycle is just as bad. I mean, thousands of dollars bad. Now, the only saving grace is fee waivers. There are three main ways that you can get a fee waiver. So first is through LSAT directly. They give out need-based fee waivers and they'll subsidize your LSAT prep, a couple of LSAT tests, applying to law schools, which is really good. If you can qualify, do it. Law schools also give out need-based fee waivers and you can reach out to those specific law schools and ask them for those, or maybe fill out a form. The second way would be to sign up for a credential assembly service. And this is basically going to be a tool that will send your stats to different law schools, and those schools will reach out to you and say, hey, you know, I like your stats, whatever. Here's a fee waiver, apply to our law school. The third way to do it is to just reach out to the schools directly. And I did do that for some of the schools that I applied to. And I said, hey guys, this is my GPA, this is my LSAT, what can you do for me? Can you give me a merit-based fee waiver? Most schools said yes. There are some schools who said no, which is just kind of like, really? But anyways, I want to break down a little bit of the cost to give you guys some insight on where your money really is going. So I have my notes handy. I paid $195 for an LSAC account, $200 for CAS, which is that service that I told you before, which will send your stats to law schools, $200. Law Hub, $99. That's for official LSAT practice exams and the official LSAT exam. I used 7Sage to study for 2 months, which was $140. The LSAT exam was $222. I took it twice, so $444. Transcripts were $35, and dual enrollment does count as an undergraduate institution, and so you will need a transcript from that. Application fees, I did get a lot of fee waivers, but there were two that I did end up having to pay out of pocket, which were both $130. So that cost me $260. And then CAS fees for each school, which is where they really get you. You have to pay $45 for each school that you apply to for them to send your transcript and your LSAT. I applied to 9 schools, so that was $405. My seat deposit was $1,000. Traveling to the law school for admitted students weekend and visiting the school is going to cost you over thousands of dollars. So for me, it cost me $3,782.47 to apply to law school, travel to the law school, enroll. So yeah, pretty pricey. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the timeline on applying to law school. And you know, I personally thought I had more time than I did. And I think that's true of a lot of first generation students or those who may not have someone who's gone to law school ahead of them to look at for reference. It happens like that. The timeline is very, very quick when it comes to applying. I started studying, I want to say March of 2022. I was still an undergrad. It was very hard. I was like, oh my God, I can't study and do school. It was just really hard. And so I didn't actually end up seriously studying until about May, June, July. And even that was hard. So start as early as possible, but also be realistic with yourself and how much you can devote to studying. If you look at a calendar, September is when most law school applications will open, okay? So you have from January to September to decide what you want to do. I think the first thing is to decide which LSAT you want to take. So if you decide you want to take an LSAT in April, you have from January to April to study. And then after April, if you get a score that you don't like, you have more time to study before September, etc., etc. But I think the first thing is knowing which LSAT you want to take and give yourself enough time to retake it in case you don't like the score that you got. But also give yourself enough time to procrastinate. I think there's like a incline that you have to get over when you start studying, because you're going to study kind of here, kind of there when you first start. It's not going to be super intense until you really get your groove. So give yourself enough time to get through that learning curve and get over that hump. The next thing is to take a diagnostic. Know what you're coming in with. Make sure you have enough time prepared to increase your score by however many you want. My third thing with the timeline is to work simultaneously. You're gonna have to work on your essays at the same exact time. You're gonna have to work on your recommendation letters. You're gonna have to work on your resume. You're going to have to work simultaneously. If you want to get your application in early, which I do recommend, I believe that you should have your application in before the end of November, maybe the end of the year. But anything after that is really, really late in the cycle. So work simultaneously. Have all your stuff being worked on at the same time. Our statements. And there's a lot to say about this, but I just have a few things. One, start as early as humanly possible. Like truly. The best ideas come over time, and your first idea is not your best idea, no matter how novel it seems. The statements that I started out with look nothing like the statements that I actually submitted. And I think the same is true for a lot of different people. And a lot of that has to do with getting people to read it, which is my next point on that, is get people to read your statements, and people that you trust, like your professor, your parents, maybe a couple of friends. Not too many people, not too many eyes, but good people who will give you good feedback, both praise and criticism. And take their feedback and take it with a grain of salt, because everyone's not gonna see your vision. But apply it to your statements, change your statements, adapt your statements, and that's okay. Make sure at the end of the day that you're answering the prompt. If the school is asking you, how is diversity important in the legal profession? Don't just talk about a random, regular diversity statement. Answer the prompt. And then also when you're writing your statement, think about what makes you you. Like, I'm not saying that you have to solve cancer or that you have to have this super traumatic story, but think about what truly makes you you. What have you experienced in life? What have you learned in life? What are you passionate about? And for me, I fell into that hole of thinking, I don't have anything to write about. Like, I don't know what has happened, or I don't have this huge reason why I want to go to law school or whatever. But then I did some introspection and I really thought about my life. I thought about the classes that I've taken. I thought about the trajectory of my life, my career changes, the things that have really developed me, the extracurriculars that I was a part of, and really taking all of that and figuring out what makes me me. What things have I witnessed? What things have I, cried about or laughed about? Those are the kind of things that you want to talk about in your statement and really summarize how that brought you to where you are today. And then I think the next thing I would say is to add some details about the school. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, doesn't even have to be more than a couple of sentences, but just saying something along the lines of, I'm so excited to participate in this clinic if given the opportunity to go to this school, or to really do research in this area that you guys do research in, or to live in this city. I think those things really do make it seem like you're not just copying and pasting your statement. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about are gap years. And first and foremost, just don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid to take 1 or 2 or 3 gap years. Literally, they're probably one of the best things that you can do for yourself as someone who's taken a gap year. I now realize how much I've added, not only to my resume, not only to my skill set, but to just my life trajectory because of my gap years. And when I say gap years, I don't just mean a year sitting around doing nothing. I mean, take advantage of time off, take advantage of opportunities, go out there and boost your resume. You may not work in corporate America, you may not travel the world, but there is something that you can do that will boost your resume. Go after those goals. And I say this especially if you are a first generation student, especially if you're a minority student, especially if you're someone who may not have the best stats. Having a gap year, having that experience will really boost your resume because it sets you apart. And then just as someone who is a first generation minority, there are doors that have been opened for me that maybe would not have been otherwise. This gap year that I'm in, I've spent working at a financial technology company, and the skills that I've learned, the people that I've met, the opportunities that have been given to me would not have come had I gone straight to law school. And it has truly, in my opinion, changed how I might even pursue the law, what kind of law I might do. It's enhanced my resume, it's enhanced my interviews, it's enhanced just the things that I now have an opportunity to talk about in small conversations. I truly think that a gap year is beneficial. The next thing that I want to talk about is getting acquainted. So let me explain that a little bit more. I mean, get acquainted with the schools that you want to go to. Get acquainted with the kind of school you want to go to. So before you even start applying to schools, know what you want most out of a school. Whether that's scholarships, location, prestige, a certain type of law, whatever it is, know exactly what you want and then find schools that fit that, rather than just applying to a different number of schools because people tell you those are good schools. Know what you want. Know what's important to you. So really just do as much research as you can on a school before you start applying to that school, even during applying to that school. That includes getting on Zooms, on open houses, whatever the school is offering for you to get more acquainted. Take advantage of it, because then you'll also know what's important to that school when it comes to writing your application. So if they really are someone who is really big on these sort of ethos and pathos type things, you'll know that they'll care more about your community service than they will about your stats. You'll know maybe I should apply to this school, maybe I shouldn't apply to that school. You'll know those sorts of things. But then also get in touch with people who go to that school, who graduated from that school, who work at that school, and see how they feel about the school, see what they have to say about the school, see how they can help you in this application cycle, and just really find people to talk about this school with. I think that's most helpful. And one of the schools that I applied to, there was someone who currently worked in the admissions office who I reached out to, and I was like, hey, I know you're a student at this law school, I would just love to ask a few questions. And after that Zoom call, they're like, I really do like you, I really do think you'll be a good fit here. I'm definitely gonna leave your name in the admissions office so they'll, look out for your application. That's what happens when you get acquainted, when you build connections. So do it. As uncomfortable as it's gonna seem, as scary as it might seem, as nervous as you may be to just reach out, what is the worst that can happen? The next thing is not really a tip of any sort, but I do think it's a sort of attitude that you should have when going into the application cycle, and that is to bet on yourself. There's a lot of fear mongering in this cycle. I already mentioned there's a lot of gatekeeping. There are a lot of people who are pretentious and will make it seem as if they are better than they are. And I just want you to know that people are going to limit you the way that they've limited themselves. So some people will tell you, you can't get into that school, don't even apply. This school's hard to get into, don't do it. Or they'll tell you that's only as good as you can get, what scholarship, whatever they tell you. Bet on yourself. And say you do have a low LSAT or a low GPA. Kill every other single part of your application. Have a great interview. Have a beautiful essay. Have great recommendation letters. People will not be able to resist you. You only know you. You know what you bring to the table, so bet on yourself. Shoot your shot. Keep the faith, because honestly, everyone is winging it, and no one's going to tell you that. No one's going to tell you that. The next thing that I want to talk about is doing the most. In every scenario possible, do the most. That means take the interview. If it's an option, take it. Give these admission counselors as much information about yourself as you possibly can, because they're not going to get it from your stats. They may not get it from your essays. Take the interview. Write the supplemental statements. If there's a statement saying why X law school, you should know enough about why you want to go to that law school to write that statement. Or if they're asking you about challenges that you overcome, or whatever other supplemental statements there are, take advantage of them, write them, give them as much information about yourself as possible. Take every opportunity to sell yourself. Hey everyone, Editing Vanessa back again. I wanted to caveat this point just a bit. When I say do the most, I mean to do the most where it makes sense. Because if you don't really have anything to write in a diversity statement, do not submit a diversity statement. That could come off with the wrong tone. But I also want to caveat that again and say diversity is not only just race and gender. Diversity could be the hometown you grew up in. Diversity could be the college major you had. And so take a stab at the diversity statement. See how it works out. If those are things that really shaped who you are as a person, write a diversity statement. But if not, please don't submit it. That leads me into my next point, which is about recommendation letters. Choose people who have something valuable to say about you. I have seen a tendency for people to go to professors that they got an A in their class, or they felt like that class was a good class. Go to a professor who can say something valuable about you, because there's a difference between a professor saying, Vanessa got an A in my class, she did really well, she'd be a great candidate in law school, and a professor saying, Vanessa got an A in my class, she did really well, she has thorough research skills, she's very analytical, she's a leader, she's a team player, she's done all these other extracurriculars and still maintain a high GPA, and she will be a great candidate in law school. Someone who can vouch for you beyond a transcript is going to help boost your application. And that may not always be a professor. You're gonna have to have at least one professor. But say you went to this large school and you didn't have any professor that you were super close to. Go to an employer, go to a mentor, go to a coach. Find someone to write a recommendation letter for you that can really vouch for you and really show that you are beyond those numbers. Next, I would also say, ask for those recommendation letters before you need them. I asked for my recommendation letters to be done by the 1st of August, or the first week of August rather. Applications didn't even open up till September, and I didn't even submit applications until November. So that shows you how early I wanted my recommendation letters to be done. Because there are gonna be those writers, those recommenders who are gonna take their time. There are gonna be those recommenders who wait till the last minute, who forgot, or maybe who have a whole bunch of letters to write. Don't wait to ask and don't wait to receive, because at the end of the day, you want your application to be in your hands and not in somebody else's. So ask for those letters early, follow up, remind the recommenders, hey, it's a couple of weeks out before this is due. I just want to make sure that you were able to start on it. Are there any questions, or is there any insight that I can give you? Da 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 da. Just a reminder, submit it this way. Those simple reminders are going to help keep their mind focused on writing your letter. Also, share your resume with them, especially if it's one of those professors that we just mentioned is maybe not so acquainted with you. Share your resume, give them a fuller picture of who you are as a student, what else you did on campus, how you were able to maintain a GPA while doing those other things on campus. Send your resume. Let their recommenders know what schools you're applying to. So don't just say, hey, I'm going to law school. Let them know, hey, I'm applying to this really great law school where it's really competitive. So please, like, sell me. Give as much info as you can on how great of a person I am, because this is a very competitive cycle. Like, telling them the schools will really help you. And so I can honestly show a template of how I ask my recommenders, but in all honesty, I said, hey, Dr. So-and-so, I really enjoyed taking this class with you where I was able to develop my research skills, where I felt that I, was a good reader, where I was able to do this and to do that. I'm applying to law school and I would love you to write a recommendation letter for me. I'm applying to X, 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 and X. I would need this recommendation letter by August 1st. Please let me know if this is possible. I've also attached my resume, da da da, set. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope that you enjoyed and found it helpful. If there's anything that you think I was 100% right on, keep that in the comments. If there's anything that I was wrong on, put that in the comments as well. I'd love to hear your feedback. And if you would like to join a community of law school applicants and law school students, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting a lot more content, and I hope that others will also put their journeys in the comments and just keep each other motivated. I hope that this will become a large community. So really, really join now. Join while you still can. Join while it's free. And really, really become legaliness-afied. Is that a word? No, but I just made it one. Can that be a thing? Is that okay?
Charlie, you're gonna for the